All right, and forward we go. Reading my notes. It's what do we need to get? Wouldn't it be great if we created a society where we could consult with people who know about life and life lessons and who help us get the lessons so that we can act differently and with some lag time stop the pain. There's energy, confidence, self love, and godly inspiration. There's a difference between something fully and not speaking into existence and not sharing it without others. How life works. There is lag time between action and the result. It takes more than one repetition to get the result. It often takes more than one iteration to get the result. In the same way as when you first start cleaning up your life and you start cleaning up your systems, you got to define what are the systems narrowly, because in order to keep them clean, you got to maintain them clean. It's like the email inbox, all of your social media platforms and your profiles. Everything has got to be nice and clean. And I am myself still in this process of cleaning that up with a Facebook account. And it's going to be all right, and I'm going to get the result because I know I can just weave that into my communication and I can take this on right now. So how life works, there's lag time between action and the result. This takes more than one repetition to get the result. It often takes more than one iteration to get the result. There are many things that contribute to your success, and you have to have them dialed in. Good habits compound upon each other and feed one another. Your thoughts and your feelings determine the type of life you live. They determine what reality you live in. A lot of doctors struggle with a silent sadism inside of them that eats them up. Semen retention just gives me about 10 to 20% more energy. That means when you usually work 8 hours and then you need to rest, you can work up to 10 hours. And when you work 10, you can work up to 13 hours. It basically gives you, and it gives me, additional energy. Sometimes emotions that get there jammed up, sometimes energies get jammed up. This is the particular thing about it. This is why it's important to do this type of work that I'm doing, meaning decoding human behavior. Oftentimes when we want to change a habit, a pattern, a behavior within ourselves in order to be able to take the actions that we want to take to get to the life of our dreams and stop taking the actions that are detrimental for us, that are taking us away from getting to the life of our dreams. If we want to get to this type of life and this type of lifestyle, we need to understand why emotions and why energies are getting jammed up. In order for our energies to be in balance, we need to let them flow. And sometimes they flow into the wrong directions. And especially if we have made the conditioning, if we've made the connection in our mind that a certain type of behavior, a certain type of thought, or a certain type of emotion is very likely to invoke or induce, to evoke or induce, to contrive, to evoke, to induce, to contrive, conjure up a certain type of feeling afterwards, a certain type of energy release, then we may be more prone to this behavior. When this behavior is linked to the energy release of a certain type, we are more prone to repeating this behavior. And what kind of energies can be released? Well, sometimes, we have all kinds of energies. I don't think this is an exhaustive list, but this is what I've discovered so far. There's certainly mental energy. Let me try to explain that to you. Have you known a time in your life where you were physically charged but mentally exhausted? Maybe when you were in college and you were studying for an exam. Maybe you were in college and you were studying for an exam and you were doing exactly that. Right? And you also know what physical energy is, when you're mentally depleted but physically you are charged. The reverse is also true, isn't it? Haven't you that explained? And then there's also creative energy. I found that people oftentimes in their jobs are unfulfilled because the creative output, the energy of creation cannot flow in their lives. They're not creating. Because, for example, maintenance of systems, that's not creating. There, the energy doesn't get grounded in this way. And a lot of jobs are like this. You just maintain systems, you just do whatever you do, and it's not very creative. That's where you got to have some kind of creative hobby in between there, and that can be anything from fixing old cars to cleaning up. Well, if you really want a great life, then probably you're going to do something creative that is also of use for others. I mean, if you sit by yourself in your basement and build model cars, that's great, but then you don't need to wonder why you don't have a great life. You know, because it takes more than that to really get to the level where you want to get to. Unless you're really happy with that and you have found your service to society in a whole different way, because this is also an energy that we have, which is called connection. We all need to be connected to other people in the ways that we are. We need to be connected. And so sometimes emotions get jammed up, and also sometimes energies get jammed up. Our emotions, when they get stuck, we need to let them flow. And here is a very important key distinction that we need to see and hear and find out. Meaning, our emotions need to flow. And that doesn't mean that we indulge.
Which is personal development. So
That's not what I mean by that at all. But we need to find a way to let our emotions flow, right? So that we don't just indulge in our emotions, which can be both for the positive and for the negative. Exactly. And then we also have the first article, Tony Robbins. This is also a piece of content that we already have. Success is about who you are. It is defined by what you consistently do. We celebrate the small wins. They pave the way to the bigger victories. We attract what we disown. Life pulls us towards wholeness. Positivity is ROI positive. Well, let me explain that. Why do we attract what we disown? Look, when we have certain parts inside of ourselves that we disown, that means we do not want to have them, we don't want to feel them, we don't want them to be a part of us. But they are. We just arguing with what nature suggests to us with how life is. Basically, this is part of yours in the same way as your body is the way that it is right now. And when you're rejecting that and you're arguing with that, you're just making the problem worse. You gotta come to the point where you're accepting that. We are saying it's like, man, I really dislike all of the fat. But like, I really do love and appreciate my kidneys and my liver underneath all of that, because when you hate them also, they're gonna hate you back and you're gonna get fucked. So you gotta start by appreciating where you are right now, and from that place change happens. Arnold M. Beiser, in his book Flying Without Wings, which I've never read, but the quote is great, he said that in order for change to take place, we have to accept what we are. I'm butchering the quote here, but that's basically what he said. You can't hate yourself into changing. I've tried that a lot, it doesn't work. He said in order to change, you gotta first accept what is. The beliefs that and so life pulls us towards that, when we attract what we disown. Right? So let us just publish these quotes once again. You're not a dormant doormat, are you, mate? Right? So that we have these emotions inside of us that we learn how to bring across, how to bring forward, how to bring towards other people. All of this which we do, which we can, what we have gotten in our lives. Every single day we're going forward with all of that. Every single day we're going forward with all of this. And so when the emotions get jammed up, sometimes also, our feelings sometimes also get jammed up, and our energies as well. So what we want to find out, Your presence, Lord. It's easy. Self-optimization nation. Yeah, that's great. And we're gonna make it even better. Being a consultant for people, for AI-driven business owners, and serve them with clarity. And that's gotta be where I start with my coaching. I'm gonna run that for the end of the year, and then we're gonna branch out. I'm still gonna do my social media, decoding human behavior. And that's where I'm going with that. My goodness, here the lag time. It is great, it is great. Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Alright, here. So let's go now back after like taking it 5 minutes to publish this one video on stream. This is not so great. But it's alright, we're just gonna throw the hours at it and we're going to see how all of this works and how it creates the life of my dreams. Exactly. So when some emotions are getting jammed up, oftentimes we find that there is something inside of us that makes them get jammed up, right? Give me any type of behavior, anything that you believe is what we have, yeah. And so let's keep reading that. Your self-talk is just chatter, it's the script for your life. How we talk to ourselves is the way that we habitually feel about ourselves, and how we habitually feel about ourselves is the way that we generally do that. What is important for us? Yes, why do we not feel good enough? That's the question. Well, we learned this in childhood when we believed that we were not good enough to get the love that we needed. Because in childhood there's something very interesting that happened to us, and I call that the initial trauma of loss of love. Basically, we realized that we needed to be a certain way in order to get our parents' love. Now, back in childhood, our parents' love was a survival need for us. We absolutely really did need our parents' love. But then there were certain love prerequisites, I call them, kind of filters towards love. Love equivalents, how I call them. Basically what we equated with love. They weren't really equivalents, they were more like conditions being placed on us to getting the love that we absolutely needed. And now in life, unless we are really centered in ourselves and we have found happiness and connection to ourselves, and all of the emotions can flow so that we feel warm inside, because when we cut off from certain emotions and certain parts of ourselves, we grow cold inside. Only when we let this flow, and only when this happens, only then are we going to be able to actually live and be okay by ourselves, and we don't need a partner. But still, a lot of people in adult life, they still believe they need the love and they need the partner to get them the love that they need, to get the partner and get the partner to get the love that they need. And so for that reason, they also still believe that there are now conditions being placed towards that love. And because the pull towards the love is so strong, because they would feel otherwise I wouldn't get what I need in my life. I wouldn't get what I actually really truly need in order to be the person that I want to be, in order to truly live the way that I want to be living. And when people don't have that, they don't see that, then these conditions are being put a lot of emphasis on. We basically really crave that. We really want that. I'm dipping my finger in the vinegar to heal the nail fungus. Yeah, and then we really believe we need that. So that's where we don't feel good enough, because the emotional payoff, what it would mean to us, the implications, the consequence of that are pretty great and pretty vast and pretty huge. By us actually living from the place of articulating these behavior, from us living from a place of actually getting the love that we need, but from the inside. We don't get it just from the outside. So how do we fix that? Affirming, I am more than good enough because I work hard. The word because makes the statement true. And then working hard to actually improve, to actually do what you said you're going to do, and to hold that, and to keep your promises, and to do all of that. And I want to share that with you. I want to offer you a piece of understanding to better influence your employees and get them to do what you want them to do. To influence employees, they need to feel that you Man, what the fuck am I doing here on stream, yo? They need to feel that you understand them. My goodness, what was just triggering me here? If I want to offer you a piece of understanding to better influence your employees, it was just going like straight into fucking unconsciousness, knowing that I gotta take care of the barrel, they gotta take care of selling the land, with the guidance of the lamp. All right, let's go. It's not Aladdin's lamp, it's God's lamp, okay? With a B. Understanding means standing under the same influences as the other person. So when we're understanding somebody, we make sure that we stand under the same influence. So we basically say, okay, in that position, knowing how much an environment impacts the person, that's how I can understand the person, because this is exactly why we are paying attention in my work to these 4 vectors of that work. It's actions, it's behaviors, it's actions, mannerisms, habits, and environment. Actions, mannerism, habits, and environment, right? And basically, actions is what you take one time, right? But they're also habits that you just, unconscious actions that just go by themselves because you've done them so often, and they are routines, right? And there's mannerism, which is mannerism, posture, and because it is like that. It's like, man, she's got to have a lot of problems in her life. She's got to have. Otherwise, she wouldn't have like a stiff fucking shoulders like that. Right? And I realized that's okay, that's where it comes from. You feel you have like a lot of weight, you feel down, and that's where you walk like that. But you feel like, I got it, man, I got it. I have things under control in my life. And you walk upright, right? And they can only feel that when you actually do understand them, when you actually make the effort and say, it's like, okay, I see myself standing under the same influence of that person. Everything that is influencing this person, their environment, their family, their psychological wounds, everything that goes into that is influencing the person, and I incorporate this understanding into my own life. All right, so let's play. Vocabulary like jewelry. Isn't that fun? Isn't that easy? Yes, it is. Per se, home is so near, per annum, to be avoided, but like, yeah man, home is so near. it there, like expressions here. Expressions. Right, as opposed to autonomous, profusely, preface, incessant, nemesis, into behest, ostensibly, bespoke, instantiation, proprietary, accrue, accompany, lucid, fortitious, tenacity, fortitious, ubiquitous, it's very ubiquitous, tenacity, succinct, serendipitously, in the most succinct manner, serendipitously, right? Surrogate, it's just a surrogate for that, irrefutably, is irrefutably true, it's very salient. The most salient element of that, the hubris, subvert, subdue, compartmentalizing, ungrudgingly, exasperate, inculcate, imbue, indicate, impropriety, evince, request for revelation, instantiate, situated, predicated upon, apt to, contrived, attenuate, alternating, consequent to, substantive, bound, peace, poise, tranquility, aversion, definitely, incrementally, distancing, encompass, entirely, proportionally, evoke, attainment, assess, to trivialize, to ambivalence, distinct, devoid, intertwined, intersperse, subside, resemble, signpost, intuit, dormant, disdain, ramifications, pertain, dissipate, conzipieren. Exactly. People are the way that they are because of what they perceive they needed to do in childhood in order to get their parents' love. We all have formed our behavior in this certain way, what we were rewarded for and what we were punished for. Even if it wasn't overt punishment, but it was covert punishment in the way that we received a certain look, or the way that our parents' energy was different around us, how they were like more giving us a silent treatment or ignoring us in a certain way. That is also how we are being conditioned, how we're being rewarded and punished for certain types of behavior. Now, people are the way that they are because of what they perceived they needed to do in childhood to get their parents' love and attention. And so when they were rewarded, for example, for doing well, for being... When they were rewarded, for example, for doing well, for being recognized, for getting attention, for getting recognition, and these were, so to speak, conditions that are being placed upon them, that were being placed upon them receiving the love, being given that love, or accepting for themselves, taking the love in, or feeling worthy, or feeling deserving. Feeling worthy or feeling deserving of that love, so that they allow themselves to take that in. These are basically conditions, prerequisites that need to be there, that need to be checked for love to be felt. It is easy for us to think they are inferior, less capable, less motivated, less disciplined than us, the business owner, our employees. But they may have been rewarded or punished for speaking up or asserting themselves, while we got rewarded for that. So they got rewarded for playing it small, while we were rewarded for thinking big, taking risks, and acting boldly. So to understand that they are the way that they are, not by volition, unless they actively broke out of that conditioning and started living the life on their terms, in which case they probably would not work for you. Volition is a great word that goes into our vocabulary. Volition. Understand what people are already standing under the influence of is the first step to influencing them. The tyranny of should. A lot of us are giving energy to the shoulds. It prevents you from taking action when you need to take action, and it prevents you from resting when you need rest. Life's guidance shows up after your needs are met. We have needs that we need to take care of. To be in connection with other people, to exhaust ourselves physically from time to time, to make mental efforts, to be creative, to create, to having the feeling that we can affect outcomes. This is called self-efficacy, where we feel that we can, with our actions, with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our leadership capacity in life, affect the outcomes that we're looking to affect. So we have needs that we need to take care of, to be in connection with other people, to exhaust ourselves physically. So we need to spend energy resolving the things inside that are preventing us from having these needs met, so that we can receive the subtle guidance of life that only shows when we are not seeking to fill ourselves anymore. Life areas that I'm pleased with: meaning and mission, health and time, content ideas. I have spent 10,000 hours in personal development. Here is what I have found works. This is my framework that I'm utilizing for my own life. This is how I'm organizing all of my files. So I'm really living that. I just didn't make it up. I just didn't contrive it and make it up. And this is also what I utilize in order to work with my clients. See if that works for you. See if that's helpful. I've studied so many hours of seminars and audio programs from the best people in the industry, Tony Robbins and others, but mainly Tony Robbins, because he really just is the best in the industry. To be able to find out what's actually working and what he is saying are the most important things. And so the most important things that he says is your state and your environment. Among the most important factors is your state, how you feel about yourself, how much energy you got in each moment. And throughout your day, obviously, but your state, the state that you're in, and the state that you're in, and your environment, the people that you spend time with. These are the two main, most common factors that he said. Tony Robbins, state and I was asking myself, okay, but what are the most important things? Like if I condense all of this, because this is no criticism. I love him, I love his work, he is amazing, and he probably has thought this through to a deeper level than I am, so who am I to criticize him if I don't have the business of the size that he does? That being said, here would be my criticism. People come to the seminars and they learn so many frameworks, and what's missing is the prioritization, in my opinion, that the coaches come there and because in my opinion the coaches, they haven't understood his working in the way that he does. Only he really has it in the depth, which is normal. But and then it hit me in this one audio piece where he said these are the two most important things: the state and the environment. The state that we are in and the environment that we surround ourselves with. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's why I've made this I call it the life success quadrant. Maybe that's too clunky of a word, but it's positivity, belief, friends, and actions. And I call that the life success quadrant. I don't think that's too high of a promise, because success in life is achievable. Because success in life is achievable. It is achievable for all of us. And it's actually not that hard to weigh. Now that I'm on the other side of it, it's really not that hard to weigh. But I was like, when I was in the struggle, I'm like, my fucking goodness, man, what is going on here? And I did not get it. But from the outside, if some successful person would have coached me, which they offered and I rejected, because I'm like, no, it's like, I'm going to do this on my own. It's like, I'm not going to listen. Like, I know what I'm doing here. Leave me the fuck. I get it. I got it. All right? Not that they were, but I had a mentor and I basically went out on my own. And he said, well, all right then. If you're going to do that this way, then go ahead then. Because we didn't have that deep of a connection. He was more like, yeah, for sure, I'll help you out. If you want to go, all right then, go then, you know? And so I did not understand that, what was missing. But had I taken care of all of these pieces, I would have done that. And there was one of those pieces that I was missing. Positivity, I got that. Belief, I also had that. And I was actively working towards it. But and actions, I also took actions. Well, not the right actions in terms of sales and content production, but generally I was working all the hours that I could. preparing and working on the content and recording some videos, so I actually was on the right track. And the question that I was asking myself is, why do I not stay consistent with that? Because my experience back then was that I would work and I would work myself into the ground with my head into the wall, trying to force these things so much. And what would happen is food cravings would show up and very unhealthy eating behaviors where I would just staff my, do you know these kind of peanut raisin mixes like that you buy like in a bag? I think in the United States, Trader Joe's, they have these things. And I would be just gulping them in and like violently fucking hitting myself while I was doing that, because like I had so much fucking anger inside of me because my life wasn't fucking working, and I'm like, man, am I still not good enough? Am I still not working hard enough? Like, what the fuck is this? Is there something wrong with you? That's how you tend to be, right? When you have this kind of conditioning, this type of mindset that you gotta like break yourself in order to break through, this kind of like hating yourself so much, this kind of unworthiness kind of mindset of like, you know, if I just treat myself harshly enough, then at some point I would get it. You know, that's the kind of, I'm glad I didn't have any children back then, because I would have probably beaten the fucking living hell out of them. Because it's like you think if you're just forcing it more, like it will happen, but that's not the way life works. That's also not the way humans work. But that's kind of the same behavior as like you're trying to force it so much into existence through and not getting how life works. And the same alcoholic father who's like beating the crap out of his children, he also doesn't get how life works. That's why he's so frustrated. He's like, what the fuck? I go to work and like my wife doesn't respect me, and it's like I have little money to pay the bills. It's like, what the heck's happening? Yeah, and you eat shit food and you watch TV and you listen to the radio. Yeah, of course. And you work in a fucking factory. Like, it's not the most intelligent type of work. You can't expect making huge amounts of money when this is something that when you're just being paid for your hands and you're not using your brain very much. Then of course you're gonna just get paid for your hands, which is anybody with a hands can do, right? And that's like also how life works. It's like if you want to have an extraordinary salary, you're not going to do that with an ordinary work, because anybody could do that. They could just get any dude from anywhere but pretty much to do your job. And if you have that type of job, if you're just working like in a warehouse, delivering things, and please, I'm not being like, oh, I'm better than you, but I'm just saying, it's like this is one of the things that I did get early on, but some people still don't get it. They don't understand how this works in life. It's like you're being compensated for the value that you bring to the marketplace. And if you're not doing anything that has great value, if you're just delivering, then how do you think they're gonna pay you that much? It's like, it's not. How do you think they're gonna pay you like that? And then you're like, well, what should I do? Should I start my business? I think that would be a great idea, yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, then, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how you're gonna make more then. Because you have to deal with all this additional responsibility. Or keep working the warehouse route and just take more responsibility and actually clean up your own life, clean up your act, show up with a suit to work. And then you just put it into your thing, and then you put your normal factory clothes on, and then at some point they will notice and you will make more, but then you also got to deal with other people. But first you got to get your own life in order. You know, when this is literally life and you come back home, you sit on your TV and like you complain in your head about how fat your wife's gotten, and like, yeah, then you're not getting anywhere. You're really not going to be getting anywhere. And that's the unfortunate of it. It's like, but on the other hand, it really isn't the way that life works. I mean, come on, it's like life makes us work. Have you ever eaten an egg lately? You gotta peel it. And sometimes when they're fresh, it like takes fucking forever. And have you ever eaten an orange or some kind of nuts? Have you ever really like eaten like fresh peanuts, like from a plant actually? Like you gotta like clean that and shake the dirt off and like peel the whole thing out, and like life makes us work for things, so there's a reason for that. And if you're not working in the way that, then you're like, yeah, well, you know, then he's just gonna get the food and a little bit of protection, but that's it. But if you do something very unique, then people are like, oh, thank you very much, I'm gonna give him something extra. And that's how it works, right? So I've spent 10,000 hours in personal development. Here is what I have found that works. I have always been looking at titles and I'm ready to improve them. Yes, Tony Robbins, exactly. I spent 200 days recording my learnings every day. Man, that was 100 days ago. Really, really, really good. I spent 300 days recording my learnings every day. Here's how to categorize your learnings so that you will remember what you started, connection to the purpose. And yes, I'm flowing, I'm overflowing with love. Yes, I'm a master of social media and client acquisition. Yes, I'm getting better at social media and client acquisition every single day. And so in the same way as I had regrets about not talking to women in Cologne during the pandemic, and now I'm not thinking about it anymore, in the same way I will not be thinking about the actions that I didn't take during the pandemic in a few months when success is starting to roll in. Here's what I found. When people regret, and this is what I'm deeply passionate about within my work of decoding human behavior, when people regret, they usually regret not having taken action in the past. But then we gotta really look at that and see that they have not taken the action in the past because they were regretting an even further moment, even further in the past. So you're right now making the same mistake that you made back then. The reason, the cure to that, really the solution to the regret, is to leave it the fuck alone, leave it away and just start taking the action. Because, as I said, the reason why you regret the past is because there you were doing the exact same shit that you're doing right now, which is sitting there in your head, feeling sorry for yourself and regretting the past. And it's a habit. And I'm not meaning to be mean in any kind of way, but the way that it is that oftentimes feelings and emotional patterns and those behaviors, first of all, decoding human behavior, it's about behaviors, mannerisms, posture, habits, and actions. It's about actions, and that means habits, that means mannerism, that means posture, that means habits, mannerism, posture, and that also means environment. The action is also what you permit to let into your mind. And there are many things that people are just too casual with it. They're just whatever. It's like whatever's in front of me, I'm gonna eat. How is that gonna work out? So like you can't just let everything into your mind that comes your way. You gotta be very, very selective. And the deeper you go into that, you also realize that some influences are against you. And it's not good for you to let those in. They pull and prod on your energies in a way and make you take actions in a way that is not so great for you. Yes, I am a master of social media and client acquisition. Yes, I'm getting better at social media and client acquisition every day. So I've spent 200 days recording my learnings every day. Here's how to categorize your learnings so that you remember what you started, the connection to purpose. Yes, this is life. And so in order to decode human behavior, we want to find out, where do we want to go? How does the life of our dreams actually look like? How do we want to be? How do we want to live our lives? What do we want for our lives? And then we really got to boil it down to the actions. What are the actions that we need to take each and every day? What are the actions that we need to take each and every day in order to really get there? And then this is where and then we put that into the schedule, and then you go start, and then is where my work actually begins. Because if it were so easy, everybody would be successful. But it's also that if it were so easy, once you are on the other side, you wouldn't be so proud of yourself, right? Because part of, at least what I've found on my journey towards success, is that you got to say no to a lot of things that you otherwise really would want to keep, but they're not good for you. But they are pleasurable in a way. Right? And you would want to keep them, but you have to give them up for success, and in that way it purifies you. That was the experience that I had to make. Where I'm like, man, I gotta give up all of these things. But where's then my happiness gonna come from if it doesn't come from a can of Coke? Like, if it doesn't come from a bottle of soda? Like, what is it then?